kid. That was like all I got for my birthday when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Loved
Legos
it.
were Bionicle, dude. Do you remember Bionicle?
I never had one of those actually, but I always wanted one. I was always super jealous of it.
Have you seen the Bionicle movie?
There's a movie?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to make time for that. So
I don't know if it's worth that, but.
Oh, I mean, you're setting me up for success here, Kenobi. You gotta either pitch it right or don't pitch it at all right, bud?
It's an experience that you should probably have. You're just not gonna like it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, speaking of experiences that we're gonna have, how about this one here on Volskaya? Orgless and Hungry will be here on defense, and they will be coming up the gate with the Winston in the mix. Side effects will scout things out with Frost on the Widow. He's done this before, and his offensive Widow has not looked nearly as good as his defensive one, but he will come out and give this one a try.
And he's hitting a couple of shots to start off, already 21% towards his ultimate, so good job from him. And it looks like actually Side Effects is going to switch their comp a little bit, going to put Spoxes back onto that Brigitte, and Frost going to switch over to the Zarya, I assume. So it's just going to take, they're going to take the Mirror, Goats v Goats right here.
Well, Mirror with the exception of main tanks, essentially, is what we're looking at the moment. So can they find an advantage? Reinhardt v Winston, that's the big battle to watch within the battle. As you can see, Henningsen has also scouted this all out, and he's going to be pretty patient as far as how he uses leaps to get in or out, maybe just to try to distract as much as possible. Frost will give a projected barrier and then just head on to point. Henningsen there to meet it. And yeah, you can see he's using it mostly from a defensive standpoint, is Henningsen able to get into the back line for a small moment up top. You can see, though, Leo also very low, trying to catch as much healing as possible. Will still be demacked, and yeah, that's both frontliners down. This looks to be a pretty successful push here for Side Effects so far.
And I liked how Side Effects rotated up onto the high ground, forcing Orgless to make a decision on what they wanted to do and forcing out cooldowns. Henningsen, you saw there, had to dive up onto the high ground and then didn't have any cooldowns available for him. And now, Side Effects, with the ult advantage that they have currently, they can definitely just roll this into the second point for sure.
Yeah, but that is just the second tick, so we will still see respawns come out. It will be a full 6-on-6, but you mentioned that the switches are also happening as you see Leo will drop away from the D.Va. I don't know if I like that, though, just because you would have loved to have had the potential to eat up Frost's impending doom, which will be that Graviton Surge. The wall will split things apart, but there is actually going to be Berglund starting things off with a Graviton of his own, trying to freeze away some of the opponents. Boger will be frozen for a small moment, but they're able to sustain and find the first blood onto Henningsen. So all of a sudden, things looking very good for Side Effects as the entire front line is dead. The Earthshatter will find some of the back line and just pushing right on through. That'll be at least 2 ticks before anyone can touch again. This comes down to the desperation swaps for the potential hold.
Well, Leo does giveth, and Leo does taketh away. They're going to that Mei switch. As you mentioned, probably not my favorite switch of all time. You are going to get a lot of stall potential here from Leodez on the Mei, but as you mentioned, it just wasn't worth it because that was just a free grab for Frost at the time. A lot committed to try and continue to sustain the sound barrier as well, but it's just a matter of time before Side Effects cleans this up.
Yeah, absolutely so. The desperate swap as well onto the Doomfist. Immediately eliminated Tracer as well. Won't stand up to that 6-man force, so Side Effects will find a very quick 2 rounds here in their first go.
And the best thing about that from Side Effects is the quick swaps that they made at the start. You know, they scouted out what had happened on the side of Orgless and Hungry on the defense. They swapped over to the Ryan Goats. Ryan Goats does a little bit of better job against the Winston Goats because if there's Ryan Goats, Winston can't really dive in because you dive in, you get Discord, Shield Bash, Ryan Swing, their Fire Strike. You just get blown up almost immediately. So great presence of mind from Side Effects to make those switches, and then they roll over through that second point. Leodez makes a interesting swap to the Mei, and then Side Effects are rewarded with a 5-minute and 22-second time back.
I mean, yeah, like the Mei on the second capture point, obviously, like that's where she finds the most success. But you have to figure you're down in the ultimate economy, and yeah, it's kind of a one trick to try to hold off and, you know, get that defense matrix eat. But if you do, all of a sudden your defense looks super sustainable, and you can make that realistic swap from D.Va to Mei without much issue whatsoever. But they tried it, didn't work out so well, and you mentioned it, 5 minutes and 22 seconds, quite a time. Just comes down to can Orgless and Hungry do the same, or anything close to that.
The thing is with Leodez switching is that at least if you have the D.Va, you have the chance to eat it, right? That's really right. With how hard you're getting rolled, that's really what you need. You need that chance. Even if it's a 1% chance, it's still better than not having the D.Va and just having the grab go for free. And you don't have any support ultimates because of how badly it went for you on that first point and how hard you got rolled over. So I wish that Orgless and Hungry Leodez would have kept the D.Va just to have that chance. But the Mei did get a couple of stall seconds, so maybe those seconds will end up being important at some point.
Now, here's where you have to watch out for Spoxes and Frost. They have done a very good job holding on Volsky in the past, have side effects off the back end of double sniper gameplay. We'll see if Frost can find that tune here again. You already see Spoxes up to 13% diving in as Henningsen, but he's pretty much by himself. The storm arrows are there, but all of them getting eaten by defense matrices, so Spox not able to find much ultimate charge on the back end of one of his better abilities. Nothing from Frost as of yet, at least not in the kill feed. Sonic Arrow gets put out, and Boxes will be able to get away. Storm Arrow also being used, and again, just putting it all into the bubble that was the projected barrier of Henningsen, but sleeping in the backline, and he's very low. 1 HP. Oh, it does. We'll actually fall away. Kagassi's also put himself on the Genji, as you can already see up to 50% towards that blade. And looking to just to be in the backline. Will just push right on through, and he finds Boxes, as you mentioned, and he will be re-rezzed, though, because, again, the Genji cannot stay in the face of that for very long. Dragon Strike will come through right towards the point. Frost, the next target. The Swift strikes in, and the right click will just narrowly touch. Interesting use to try to go with the right click off that and a little scatter shot, but looks like side effects are having a very tough time holding on to this. The point has already found itself captured to 1 tick, looking for the second. It will be there, and you have to be careful now if your side effects. If you get staggered, killed here, this very well could turn into a snowball, because look at who's left. It's just the Winston, the D.Va, and the Mercy. And if the Mercy falls, which she'll put herself in the Valkyrie, but that's mostly just to try to stay away. You can see her taxing from player to player, and side effects actually in the back of that Valk will sustain somehow.
Yeah, a lot of scrappy fights happening on the off of the point too, and Orgless and Hungry is able to take 2 ticks with just 1 person on the point there. And now coming into this next fight, they're gonna have their Nano Blade combo, so if this can find value, they're gonna be able to roll onto the second point.
We'll see what's used. Berglund also very close to a grab, and Spoxes will actually find a very big stall on the timer, able to find a headshot at the Tang. We have not seen Frost pop up yet. Has switched from the Widow to the Tracer. Maybe not feeling the hot hand on the Widow so far, but the Frost also, obviously, you want to try to be able to respond to the mobility that Genji has. Widow obviously does not provide that, so.
And Frost, you know, he's on Tracer now because he decided to switch to Tracer to get back onto the point quicker, so that's really what he's getting. And he's doing a lot of good things, getting a couple of kills. Ruby is really low. Nice sleep, though, coming out from him, and the Graviton as well.
Sound Barrier also used for Orgless and Hungry here as the Dragon Strike pierced right through the middle.
No.
And eliminations will trade, so 5 on 5, but Ruby not being there means this will be a naked blade if it does come out, which it will, but immediately countered. Oh no, Kagassi, what did you think was happening right there? That's not what you want to see. Now Henningsen, will he even commit to staying on this with the Primal Rage? The kills aren't here, though. You can't imagine he would, but of course I say that, and he does try to push off the Hanzo.
Okay,
he
got
one, so there is some value here, but again, he's essentially by himself, and as soon as his Primal Rage finishes, he will be the target. He'll get boosted, though, just to stay alive. A lot being committed economy-wise just to stay alive, but now a stick comes through, and that will actually be a value as it is support for support. Ruby for Cave, and Frost will have to pick up a Mega Pack before he can recontest, but again, you can see there's just not enough sustain here for side effects. They're just trying to dance around to the point for as long as possible, Kenobi, and we're going to get essentially a reset before we get a refight coming in.
And it's going to be last fight territory here for Orgless and Hungry. They don't have any ultimates to speak of for their name. Kagassi is going to try and get into the backline. A nice dive, but a nice nade to keep himself alive, but Sab is going to end up going down, and Bogart gets a kill.
Goodness
side
gracious.
effects might actually hold this.
Spoxes was actually able to find a kill with the Dragon Strike at the Tang late in that channel. I don't really know how that was able to happen. You're the most mobile character in the game, Lucio. You should be able to dodge those Spirit Dragons, but not going to happen here. So now Orgless and Hungry, 15 seconds left. One more go at this. They do not have the boost, but they will have the blade and a sound barrier potentially in the midway through this fight.
And this blade is going to have to be absolutely huge from Kagassi here. No support ultimates for the side effects, so it's going to be free.
Deflect is down, though. Kagassi looking for a target. Will put himself in the Swiss Strike up and immediately take down Sab. Good target partization, finding a second. Asleep in midway through. Frost will also drop away, and this looks like this should get pushed in as there are just not enough supports or big bodies here for side effects, so it wasn't the last second, but Orgless and Hungry, they will find that third tick, but more importantly, they get to hold on to the grab, and they'll have the Primal Rage as well.
And I think the rest of the team from Orgless and Hungry is going to switch over to a more Goat-centric composition here. You're going to get the Zenyatta, we're going to get the Brigitte from Kagassi, so they're going to be coming into this fight with a good amount of ultimate advantage because side effects has made a lot of switches themselves. Frost has gone over to the Zarya, is only at 4%. Boger is staying on this Winston, so it's going to be a mirror between these two teams.
It's interesting to see the double Winston being played on this point specifically. Not that there's anything wrong with it. We just don't often see Berglund gets eaten up, though. And Meta's actually even turned that around into elimination onto Henningsen. So side effects, this defense will be very successful. The offense stalled before it could even start.
And actually, Henningsen, I'd like to see him switch over to the Reinhardt here, which he does. Forgo completely the charge for the Primal Rage. Primal Rage not going to get that much value in this next fight, and especially if Boger's going to be staying on the Winston, this is a very good situation here for the side of Orgless and Hungary. If Henningsen is now on this Reinhardt, going to get a lot of cleave damage, going to have a lot of shielding as well, more so than side effects will with Boger still on the Winston.
But he's also very close to the Primal Rage, and if he's able to split apart this front line to back line, it could provide some interesting target prioritization for side effects, and it has not looked great in that category specifically for side effects, especially in that first fight where everything was just all over the place. But now we're going to see an opportunity, as you can see the side able to push on through. The self-destruct sequence is just a little bit too far overhead. Boger will find one, Frost another, and yeah, that'll actually play very nicely. Henningsen will find himself a pin, but it'll be pretty inconsequential as he will fall immediately afterwards, and maybe now Boger will make a swap back now that he's lost that Primal Rage.
And that was a really nice Primal Rage from Boger as well. He was able to section off a lot of the supports from the side of Orgless and Hungary, get them away, and Orgless and Hungary are going to come back into this fight with some ultimates to their name. They have the bigger bang combo available to them. Side Effects doesn't have it just quite yet, but Side Effects has the advantage when it comes to the support ultimates. Tang really needs to get this sound barrier before they have this next fight.
Side Effects will start things off with the Graviton Surge, and immediately charged away was Henningsen, but the self-destruct was not there to follow up. Metahead still charging that, so looking for just a kill in the back on the charge. Not going to find it. Now here's a combination. Bomb coming into the Graviton Surge. Frost will be taken down now.
Nice
after that, Henningsen able to shatter away 3, and the kills, they are there afterwards. Berglund full charge. He's going to start melting through, and you have to figure that the target prioritization is there. It's going to be Orgless finding their second point eventually. Progress will eventually start up, though. Sab will surely fall here in just a moment. As you say that, and he's able to avoid all the damage coming through. Still just 1 tick of progress so far. Good distraction here from Side Effects, but they still need to reconvene as 6. And I don't even know if they're going to get the opportunity. The self-destruct sequence trying to open up some space. Not going to find any eliminations in the back end of it, though. You can see Cave just trying to do what he can to dance around the sides of the point. Very close to that 3rd tick. Eliminations, though, aren't favoring that of Side Effects. Berglund exactly at 100% charge, and he's already got another Graviton Surge. Even if he needs to use it, he'll just soak into Lucio. That will be all the eliminations that will likely be needed. One more touch will happen. 2 CP things, by the way, Kenobi, but we will still finish off 2 for the first round.
Yeah, and Side Effects, I mean, say all you want, that was a really good stall, and they're rewarded with a much higher time bank than the side of Orgless and Hungary. Orgless and Hungary only get that 1 minute, so they have 1 chance to take 1 fight at the start of this. And while for the other side, for Side Effects, if you're able to full hold here, all you need is 1 tick with 5 minutes and 26 seconds left. That should be an easy win for the side of Side Effects on this map.
Well, especially based off of what we saw them do just previously defensively. I mean, it was nearly a full hold, and then, of course, last second, that timer jumps back up to 4 minutes, so we'll see if they can handle this.
That thing right there, that's
that's the Lego set that I want, dude, for sure. Yeah. Make it happen, Blizzard.
Yeah. but give us royalties because we have the AD first.
Yes, 100%. Like what? Like 5%? That should be enough, right? That's not too greedy.
Yeah. That sounds good. I like that idea.
Gosh, I miss Legos, dude. Always a kid at heart, right, Kenobi? At least I am at some point.
I mean, that's the idea of Legos, right? Sometimes Legos are just really cool to just build like random stuff and then, just relax a little bit. They're good for relaxation. It's kind of like Minecraft, but you actually
with like tangible blocks. Yeah, exactly. You've seen those sets that are like a couple $100, like the big, massive, like there's like a Porsche. Yeah, there's like a Porsche as well that's like fully functional. Okay, we're getting a little too offhand with this. I'm getting excited about the Legos talk. Let's get back in the game. Orgless, they have a minute to make an offense work, and again, if you remember back, they did not find much success. I imagine that this composition they're coming out of spawn with is just to scout to see what's going on, and yeah, they're going to start making some swaps. Although maybe Kagasi is going to go back in with this blade. Did find some success late, but they have to channel this very quickly.
And I don't actually, with 30 seconds left, I don't think they're going to be able to farm up to the blade quick enough, especially because they took a lot of time to swap these compositions over. Kagasi already getting very low, and if he goes down, that's a disaster for the side of Orgless and Hungary.
Spox, he's got the ability to turn this ahead on just from 1 headshot. We've seen it before. We'll try to D-mech out. Leo Des won't be able to find it. Long distance, so Kagasi's already gone, and this is not good. Side Effects has an opportunity just to close off this defense very quickly here. 10 seconds left. Henningsen also being killed in staggered fashion. Leoded's taking an ill-timed nap just at the platform above. Will be re-woken up, but immediately D-Mac, and I can't see any situation where this offense is able to find success. The Dragon strike right through Main Street, and and that will be enough to hold on, and Side Effects has win condition here in Volskaya right in front of him.
And so the idea of this composition from Orgless and Hungry was to try and dive onto the high ground, because you have that Genji who can dive on, put some damage into this double sniper that they were running. But unfortunately, they took way too much time in that first point when Berglund was scouting on that Widow. They took 30 seconds to do that, and Kagasi ended that map with 37% towards his ultimate. That means he's not doing that much damage, and the win condition there was to get that Nano Blade, and you need to farm it up very quickly, and they just weren't able to do it. I'm surprised that they actually decided to do that, run that composition, especially with how disastrously it ran on that first point. They really didn't use the blades correctly. They didn't use the Nano Blade at all. It was just a raw blade at the end that ended up getting kills because there was no support ults on the other side. So interesting decision from Orgless and Hungry. Here I expect them to go a little bit more standard, going to run the double sniper maybe, or no, they're just going to run goats. I don't know why they didn't do this on attack, but, you know,
right?
They're doing it on defense. And Side Effects, they're going to run goats. I don't think this Torbjorn is going to happen, but, you know, anything can.
We've seen crazier things.
Now that I've said it, it'll probably happen.
You speak everything into existence. My goodness. But yeah, it seems strange. You know, you talk about the potential of obviously the boosted blade. That's your win condition. But I mean, where are you going to farm your ultimate from against that composition as the Genji? I mean, you have to essentially get into the backline and hope you find a free target, and that's not going to happen. So, Side Effects, nope, they will not see the offensive Torb. Sorry about you, Kenobi. We'll just be jumping in with Thought Goats.
Yeah, and for the side of Side Effects, they can play this very slow. They can wait it out, make rotations, farm up their ultimates, because at some point they're going to have 6 ultimates, and they're going to be able to push this all the way through and get this first win. They only need that tick. Sab needs to be very careful, because I've seen him get low a bunch of times. And for the side of Orgless and Hungry, one death here basically means the map is over.
Frost in a very bad spot, though. Needs to back up or at least get some help from his teammate. And Henningsen actually will be turned on. He had the blinders on, just searching for Frost. Did not realize that the rest of the team had fallen down into the low ground behind him. Now a 6-on-5. Makes that a 6-on-4. And this one's for sure going to be coming through the first take, you would figure. One more delayed tick coming through, but Frost at 100% charge will clean up everything very quickly. Side Effects finds themselves their first map here in Volskaya. We'll be reading this scoreboard at a 2-1.
And Henningsen got hard baited to go on that kill on Frost. Not only did he try and get to Frost there, but he ended up using his jump pack. And then the rest of the side of Side Effects went back around. They charged into him. He went down almost immediately. And as I said, when the fight was starting, you lose one pick, you lose the map. And there it ends up happening. They snowball through, and they're able to win Volskaya.
Yeah, and I have to go back. You know, we were talking about the Kings Row offense that came out of Side Effects with Boger playing on the solo Wrecking Ball and with the Pharah and the Sombra, which was very questionable on Kings Row. But kind of a similar storyline here, trying to go in for, again, just the boosted blade was the win condition that they were trying to hinge off of. But with only a minute, I mean, you'd be very hard pressed, I think, against Goats to farm up a blade in a minute.
Especially with the way it went on the offensive side. I had very little faith that it was going to work because of the way that it looked when they first did that offense, and because of the way they were using their ultimates. They're not playing to their win condition. The win condition in that composition is you get a really quick pick onto one of the double snipers, or you're able to farm up towards that Nano Blade. And when they got the Nano, they didn't use it on the Genji when he was blading, and the Genji bladed without the Nano, and just things like that. They ended up winning and taking that first point because they had a blade for free because there was no support ultimates on the other side. But if they don't have that blade in that moment, they probably get full held there. So they didn't really play towards the win condition of their composition there, which is something they had been doing in the previous when they play Goats and in the previous maps. So very interesting to see Orgless and Hungry come out on a composition like that.
Indeed. And again, just to remind you guys, this is our final match of EU Contenders Trials. Our 2 teams to make it into Contenders have already been set up. So for both of these teams sitting at 1-5, essentially just a match for pride here at the moment, as again, we are looking at a 2-1 scoreline at the moment, favoring that of Orgless and Hungry, which is mostly a team that is comprised of a bunch of open players that were not on the top 2 teams. Of course, Novus being the team that had won the Open Division, obviously came all the way through. And then the Falafel Avengers was split up between, I think they are represented in 3 different teams in Contenders Trials, but I think all 6 of them had gotten spots. So now it just comes down to kind of the same situation here for these players that are sitting in Contenders Trials that have not made it all the way through, just, you know, having an individual showcase that might put you some offers, or it comes down to being picked up by a Contenders team.
Yeah, I talked about it with Boop in the last match because that also was a match where nothing was really decided. Both teams weren't going to make it to Contenders proper, and it was a showcase for players like Eclipse or players like Kara, who were on the support line of Novice, who had playing very well throughout the Trials season. So I think here it's the same kind of idea where you're trying to showcase your best stuff. You're trying to get, put stuff on the reel that you're going to be putting behind that EDM, try and get the best footage you can of yourselves and also win for pride, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's something to grow from as well. The experience, obviously, will appreciate it as these players, I'm sure most of them will be continuing on. I actually saw a really interesting tweet from Wayfast, who was in our earlier game on the team that did not make it into Contenders, talking about how he was already looking for 5 other hungry dudes that want to just learn the game in and out and just go all the way to Overwatch League is on their own. And it's like, that's, again, that experience is super awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, you learn that, you see it, how it goes through, you know what you have to do to move on through. And that's what you want to see coming out of these players that have, transitioned past that kind of, we're obviously better than open division, but we're not quite there to be full on contenders yet, but we're close. You kind of take those things in stride and learn how to better yourself. And that's obviously the goal as you move forward.
Yeah, some growing pains. And that story you mentioned kind of reminds me of this one South American team. I forget their name. Boop is probably going to be upset at me, but they decided to play Open Division just because they wanted some Blizzard bucks, and then they ended up getting all the way to Contenders proper and actually getting to playoffs. So anything can happen. And you take these growing experiences and these growing pains and you can apply them to the next season of Trials and things like that. So you're always on the path to pro, always on that grind.
Indeed we are, and we'll be on the path to Route 66 to potentially finish off the set. Orgless and Hungry, again, up the 1 map. Very well could still see a map 5, though, if Side Effects is able to find some success here on the Escort. They will be starting off on defense first, so... there's expectations for this map. We got to try to Contenders when they decided that Quad DPS was going to be super successful on this first stage, and that was obviously very fueling and fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think something we've been seeing in Owl a lot, actually, is this Orisa Bastion defense. I don't think we're going to see it here. It looks like as Side Effects is coming out on just traditional goats here. But Orgless and Hungry, I could definitely see them maybe running Quad DPS at the start of this match. Quad DPS, the reason it works so well against goats on this map is because you have very long sight lines. So you can get some picks with Berglund, you can get some picks with Kagasi if they're staying on these characters. So I don't expect them... I would say it's probably... I would expect them to switch, actually, here. I don't expect them to stay on the squad DPS.
You never know. Wilder things have happened, Kenobi.
if I see Orisa Ryan, I'm just going to... I don't know. We've hit a singularity.
I can't see Tank playing the Orisa. That's the biggest thing. It looks like he's just setting up shields just to make sure that there isn't incoming damage, So there will be a swap over to goats on goats action, but there will be a mortar on the table for Side Effects. That will not be mimicked by Orgless and Hungry as they opt to go with the Zenyatta instead. And again, there's a lot of discussion when it comes to just picking between those two healers in specific.
Nice. Yeah, and really what the Moira gives you is a lot of sustained healing. You get a lot of really nice, good burst healing with your tanks, with the orbs, and with just your primary fires. So if they're going for a sustained fight on the side of Side Effects, Moira is a good choice.
At the moment, though, speaking of sustained fights, we are sustaining a pretty long one at the moment. Boger very low. Will be trying to grab that healing blast coming out, but there's just not enough juice in the tank to keep him up. Boger will fall, and Orgless and Hungry starting things off relatively nicely as they're able to find Spoxes as well, and also discorded and taken out of mech will be that of Metahan, and yeah, that's going to be Orgless and Hungry rolling through that defensive offer pretty quickly. But again, we see this pretty traditionally on Route 66 as the respawns are close enough to contest one more time, at least right near Big Earls.
Boger played super aggressive there, and I would have liked to have seen him kind of rein it back a little bit. He was short hopping into the enemy team when Sab was trying his best to heal him, but he had Discord Art on him. You need to rein that back just a little bit because he goes down very early, and once the Reinhardt is down in these Goats compositions, it's just free reign for the enemy team to just walk at you.
Will be pushed off the high ground, and that might just be a little bit of choke for Orgless. Hungry self-destruct sequences up there. Coalescence still in effect for Side Effects, but it's not helping. The sustain is just not good enough as Meta's taken out of mech and taken down, and so is the support line. Goodness gracious, Side Effects is just completely folding right now. They set themselves up pretty nicely, but it just seems like someone just gets a little bit too aggressive, and as soon as that first person falls, Orgless is very quick to hit the gas pedal and punish fully.
And Side Effects are going to have 5 ultimates coming into this next fight. I don't expect them to contest, most likely. Actually, they are going to try it. They're going to rally in.
Pennington not able to punish whatsoever. It's actually Frost to drop the Graviton Surge first. Berglund not quite there yet. And Meta is actually able to find a self-destruct for 1.5, Tang and the D-Mech, and will be a sound beer also utilized for side effects. It looks like they will actually be able to find not only the contest, but also the sustain on defense. I wasn't even sure if they're going to get back in time, kind of as you called it, but able to get the speed boost on in, and they're able to sustain defense the last second for checkpoint A.
Oh, and Berglund goes down, and in that last fight, I think I super caster cursed Orgless and Hungry. They're saying they weren't going to get back onto the point, but they come back onto the point, use basically all of their ultimates that they had available to them, except for Boger's Shatter. So coming into this next fight, pretty even on both sides. Orgless and Hungry don't have the advantage when it comes to support ultimates, because Sab is at 75% to his, so the Transcendence advantage is going to be big.
And you figure unless Sab gets picked out early, that will likely come into play mid-fight. 84%, maybe not even mid-fight, maybe just early fight this could possibly come through. Boger has already sacrificed the high ground and will be sitting right in front of the payload, just under a minute to go. Boger taking a lot of damage, will be catching an armor pack. This the Earth Shatter is good for 3, and Boger able to follow up on his own work, able to take 2 down, and now Frost, very full charge. You can't imagine a situation he drops this grab, but he will at least use that particle cannon to push through the rest of those health pools. But Ruby is able to find at least some kind of a silver lining as he takes down his counterpart, but still just 30 seconds left, and Orgless and Hungry kind of left staggering after that team fight.
Spoxes gave his life, but we finally saw a shield bash shatter combo there coming out from side effects, and now coming in this next fight, it's going to be an ultimate bloodbath between these two teams. A lot of support ultimates, a lot of tank ultimates available as well. Right now, though, side effects has the advantage because they have both of their support ults, whereas Tang not going to get his probably by the time this fight happens.
Rally already in play though, and Orgless and Hungry, I like this little rotation going up and over and getting right behind, so the defense is essentially stuck here, but the Graviton Surge will come out for side effects. The Earth Shatter was tried for Henningsen, won't be able to find much, and Meta actually able to find the first elimination of the Tang. We will see Ruby trying to put himself in that Transcendence. He will not be able to sustain for as long as needed though for Orgless and Hungry, and now all the kills coming in the back out of this. It looks like side effects is going to find themselves in full hold. My goodness.
And side effects has all of the momentum coming in from that map of Volskaya, and now with the full hold here against Orgless and Hungry, they can definitely take this to a map 5, as this is a pretty easy map to continue to snowball on. If you get that first pick in that first win, that first fight, it's going to be great for them. And going into this next fight, they have the momentum, like I said before.
Starting to smell a little bit like a reverse sweep coming out right now, to be honest with you, with how this has gone. I mean, Orgless and Hungry had a nice start to that, but again, that last contest from side effects was well found. It cost them a lot. We didn't really mention that. They use this about everything, but again, if it, it results in that, I think you take that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So for now, it just comes down to Orgless and Hungry. You've got a pretty tall task to try to hold this. You figure they have to try to hold this aggressively. I mean, we saw this happen in our first game, though, today on Rialto, where the initial hold didn't go so well defensively on Rialto, and the second team up for defense, instead of holding up close because they weren't sure if they were able to get back in time for the respawns, they just opted to hold a little bit more passively, and we remember how that panned out.
Yeah, and I think if you're Orgless and Hungry here, you have to hold close because you have to milk off as much time off the clock as possible. Even if you lose the fight, you're still contesting the point, and they're not getting the payload moving. It's not as difficult to mess up that as it is on Rialto, where you can just kind of move to the side and the cart's going to keep moving. Here, you're fighting basically on the payload the entire time, so you have to hold aggressive here if you're Orgless and Hungry. Don't give side effects any free space, because then it's just going to end up really poorly for you. And side effects, if they come out on this is actually interesting. They're going to try and maybe get a halt hook combo into just a blow up on one of the people from Orgless and Hungry.
And you talk about the potential of even getting staggered kills here for side effects. That could, the map could be over very quickly if you're starting to deal with 6-on-4s routinely. There is the halt hook, and it's on Kagasti, and the bubble won't be enough to keep him alive. So now a 6-on-5 immediately switches, exactly. Nice. So you're looking at a pretty much a full-on go 6-on-5 with no Brigitte. This comes down to, can you find the damage and eliminations at the back end of this? You're going to be thinking that Kagassi's going to be on his high horse trying to get back as fast as possible. And now the Henningsen falls away. Side effects, they've got full open pastures in front of them as long as they can clean up the pests that are on the payload. And they will do so rather successfully, and they're going to have a very big advantage for the rest of this push.
Yeah, really nice, clever play coming out from side effects, using that halt hook combo to insta-give the Brigitte. Kagassi, as you can see, only 8% towards that rally, did nothing that entire last fight, so great play from side effects. 3 minutes to push this basically past this one turn. They have the advantage in the ultimates, and Orgless and Hungry has to make a miracle happen if they want to even have a chance to try and win this map.
And already on the high ground is side effects, so they can actually meet this for a moment if they so choose to. But They'll forfeit it for now. Orgless and Hungry have to have a very big opening here. You can see Leo trying to get himself on the high ground. Will be mini stunned for a moment, and now Frost is the new focus of his, and you want to be careful of that particle candy. You get out of mech, and things are spilling. Oh, very dangerous. Henningsen gets dropped. Kagasi falls again. The Graviton Surge from Berglund won't be able to do much, and that's going to be pretty much a full wipe. And it will be Orgless and Hungry. They might get one more chance to jump on this payload in staggered fashion, but I mean, they still have to go up against an Earth Shatter, a Transcendence is there, self-destruct, and you've also got a Sound Barrier not too close, so not too far away.
Yeah, too many ults, and I don't even know if they'll make it back onto this point here. Kagasi went the other way, is going to be able to get back, so they're going to be able to stall just a little bit longer, but Kagasi gets blown up, and that's going to be that.
Ruby down as well. Graviton Surge able to be played in, and that'll be combined with the self-destruct sequence. The Sound Barrier is there for Orgless, but Sab's still got a Transcendence, who'll hold on to that, and it just comes down to finishing off these last frontliners, which it looks like they'll be able to do so. We're into a map 5. Reverse sweep, possibly incoming. Side effects looking strong.
Your smell senses are pretty good right now, and you're smelling that reverse sweep, because it looks like what Orgless and Hungry was doing in the first half of the map. Now Side Effects is doing. It seems like they've switched over, and these are two completely different teams that we're seeing. And Side Effects playing a lot better, playing that smart play that we hadn't seen from them before. You know, using that halt hook to win themselves basically the map. Because if you stay a little bit more sustained on that point, they're able to farm up ultimates, and then the way that you just insta-gib that Brigitte, you were able to just run through, not let the enemy get any ult charge. So really nice play from Side Effects, and I'm incredibly pleased with how they played that Route 66.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like they were masters of it. I mean, they came in with a game plan the entirety of the way through, not only obviously on the offense with that little, again, you mentioned it, the halt hook combo, but even on defense, they looked really smooth. They played the map positionally well. They obviously had an idea of how many defenses that could come through in that first stage. And man, you talk about how different this map could look if they did not be, if they were not able to touch in time for that third defensive chance that they gave themselves. And you know, that could have been a payload push pretty far down the second stage, if not a full push. We've seen that very often. If you can get past that first stage, you very regularly get at least to the third in some fashion. But that won't be the case here. We'll be heading to map 5. And, I mean, again, you talk about momentum. It's got to favor that of Side Effects so far. But when we think back to the first control that we saw, again, when Leo was able to find an environment that he could pull out the May, there was really no response for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what map we're going to be going to next, but Control usually, we're going to Ilios next, so Control usually you can have some good maps where you can play May. It depends on if we're going to get well or not as well. So I think we'll definitely see Leodes bring back the May just because it's a very comfort pick hero for him, and it seems that Side Effects really wasn't adapted to dealing with it in the first 2 maps, so if he brings it back, it'll probably do some good work for them.
We'll take a look. Ilios, one of those maps that is typically not so favorable to the 3-3 goats meta that we know, just simply because of areas like the well, where anything can happen as far as boops, but also you take a look at things like ruins, and you can see some sniper gameplay coming out. A lot of versatility on Ilios. We'll see where we start things off. Again, map 5 coming into play for these 1-5 teams. Looks like we'll be headed to well first by the looks of it. Should be interesting.
So well is a map that is, as you mentioned, very non-goat centric. Usually if you see goats here, it's the monkey version instead of the Rhine version, because Rhine is very susceptible to just getting thrown into the middle of the well and going down by boops or by hooks or anything like that. We also see a lot of Brig McCree on this map as well. Farah has a very good high play rate on this map as well. So I think we might be seeing something interesting that's not going to be 3-3.
It's not your traditional 3-2 like you mentioned.
Yeah, traditional.
You also see like the opportunity for Hitscan to pop out here as well. Although we don't see much McCree anymore. It's usually been taken over by the Ash, but we'll see what happens here as what's hovered on so far for Orgless and Hungry would be interesting to see. Not exactly out of the realm of possibilities either.
I think with Orgless and Hungry, if they're going to run this, they need to run they need to for sure run a Mercy with this Pharaoh if they're going to run this.
Well, looks like, there we go, Tangle Switch. I was about to say, there you go, makes sense. All right, so Kagasi, what do you got for us, my friend? Let's see this concussive blast. Maybe we can get some well action early on. Side effects, though. Moving and just keeping themselves underneath the windmill and immediately into the backline. I like this play a lot from Side Effects, and they find Fury, or Ruby, pardon me, for free. And this is going to be really interesting to see how they recontest back on the point without the Ana being here. Berglund also gets dropped. Oh my goodness, Side Effects is just running around the map as a 6-man unit, and they've found 2 free picks so far. Things are looking good for them early.
Yeah, really nice aggressive dive onto the backline, getting Ruby almost instantly. Really nice play coming out from Side Effects, and they're rewarded with the point capture here as well. Sab also very close towards this Coalescence, so the next fight that Orgless and Hungry is going to come in with, it's not going to be that easy for them to retake.
And the Coalescence comes out, and the barrage was channeled at the same time. That is the ultimate feels bad man. He had his eyes on something else, and Kagasi, with his back turned to the Coalescence, was immediately melted. That's a huge value there. Side Effects spotting themselves up very early.
Yeah, that was not my favorite barrage of all time right there. I think he was trying to just burst down Boger and get him out of the fight very early, but it just didn't work out, especially with the Coalescence available. Now, Orgless and Hungry coming back into this fight, they're gonna have the EMP. Let's see what he can get with it. Side Effects has done a good job, though, playing around it and separating just a little bit.
Or putting themselves in close quarters where they can just spam, but no one's able to touch the point. So Orgless, this is great for you. You just got the point for free. Pop will come out, and Leo Deads will be taken down, so no EMP. Can Kagasi take over the reins for the damage department? Already at 52% due to the barrage. You mentioned the boop onto the Bob will put him out of contest. The minefield also on the field as well. Now it is the Primal Rage being used for Boger as Side Effects looks to flip this one back in their favor. It's up to 20% for Orgless and Hungry, but it is starting to be contested. The res will get off though, so Headington will return, but it's not after this, but everybody else on the side of Orgless and Hungry have been decimated off the face of the field.
Yeah, and the positive here for Side Effects is that, or rather for Orgless and Hungry, is that they did flip the point. They got it to 32%, because that would have been a disaster if they hadn't have flipped the point. They'd be around 70 or 80% right now for Side Effects, and they would be one fight away from winning this map. So good on them. Leodes, I need you to hit this EMP because you've been keeping it for a while now. Usually this is the point where you'd have your second EMP. He just hasn't been able to get a good one so far.
Comes down to the route. Again, you talked about Side Effects splitting up so nicely, and they're doing the same thing. Again, you can see just how far apart they are. Sab is on one side of the map next to one. The EMP comes down. It only finds two, but immediately melted was Frost. That's a big target down. Kave tried to put down a sound barrier to save, but he won't be able to do so. And the res on the Berglund means that we still have 6 players ready to go for Orgless. Henningsen also getting a lot of damage. And for Orgless and Hungry, can they sustain through this? Bob will come out to assist one more time. And Side Effects still in control of the point, though, up to 84% and counting. Kagasi will be able to get into the face of Boger to help out with that elimination, and this will be a point flip right before we hit the 90% mark.
So Orgless and Hungry did swap the point here, but Side Effects got to 89%, and this is basically win one fight and you're in territory. Kagasi goes so over-aggressive, he does not need to be there.
Graviton Surge will lock in Headington as well. Absolutely worth it, even if it's a solo. It's totally worth getting hammered off the point. And now what do you do if you're Orgless and Hungry? You've got no frontliner here. You only have the nano boost, which will come out because it has to, but the Valkyrie's also being expended. So when Henningsen comes back, which he is, there's gonna be nothing to sustain him. He will drop down a minefield. Bob will come out one more time, and now the Coalescence is being used to try to sustain for Side Effects. Will there be enough damage here? Frost has no charge hardly whatsoever, and Bob will be pushed once more into the well. Henningsen's still low, but again, where's the damage to follow up? He's going to try to get back out. The EMP is also here. Side Effects are finding themselves favorable in the kill feed, even though there are no real ultimates for them, and Kagasi had a number of targets, very low HP, but none of them will fall. And it looks like the Side Effects will be able to clean this one up and take this first environment here on well.
And Kagasi there, in that last fight, the fight before the last fight, rather, where he was a little bit over-aggressive for my liking, got bursted down almost immediately, and you can't be doing that, especially when you have the advantage here. You can just stay in the air, shell out as many rockets as possible, but there he doesn't respect the damage that Frost and the rest of the team from Side Effects is bringing to him. Goes down and gets bursted down. That's a lot of damage you lose. That's a lot of aerial threat you lose. And the worst part, you're not in a resable position. That's the biggest thing. You can die You can die as Pharah in those fights, but you can't die in the inside of the enemy team. Mercy's not going to run 1v6 res you.
And I'll tell you, this is probably the last environment you wanted to go to for Orgless and Hungry. Although Frost, interestingly enough, I was anticipating him maybe pulling out the Widow, but we saw him try it on Volsky. Maybe just not feeling it, as it looks like Side Effects will come out and play a May of their own. How about this?
Ooh, Metahan's gonna show Leodes who's the real master is on the Mei in this fight. I like that Berglund is on the Widowmaker here. Gonna have these really nice long sidelines with side effects. I think is gonna just switch over to a Monkey 3-3 style over here because they're going back to their spawns, I would assume. Yes, there we go. We're gonna be going to the Monkey 3-3 with the Moira. I like the Moira pick as well. Gonna do a good job of making sure you sustain through all of the damage that's gonna be bringing from the Pharah, from the Sombra, and from the Widow.
I was kind of hoping Frost would switch over to the Widow after seeing Berglund on it, just for the big ego challenge, but we're not going to get it, at least not yet. Kagasi with a couple of opening rockets, but you can already see how penetrating this Winston can be. Boger jumping right on in will actually put Berglund in a very awkward spot. He'll put himself back on top of the platform, but now he gets pressured out by the D.Va. He'll catch himself a health pack, and now repositions for the 3rd time, and not even able to fully get up there is... That is already territory established by the Ana player looking for those long line of sights. 25% for Orgless, but trying to be flipped for side effects. They're already halfway to doing so, and we are going to have this point almost trading hands before any eliminations come through. Finally, Kagasi able to get one, and that is a great trigger in the barrage right in the face as he finds 3, 2 of which were support players, which is exactly what you want, and this will be a nice little stagger on the meta as well.
And the best part about that for Orgless is that they have had the point for this entire time, already towards 50%, and they won that fight based off of just one ultimate off of that barrage. They kept a lot of their ultimates for this next fight. Most importantly, they have the EMP from Leodes. Probably most likely he's going to be able to get a hack, and he's going to be able to get the charge. And look, like Frost is actually going to be taking the Widow 1v1 like you mentioned. You called it.
Let's see it, baby! I want to get that on board so badly. We'll take a look to see if Frost can start to hit these shots. Have to come through the little platform destruction area on the right-hand side, though. Trying to get through Henningsen with a really nice pile driver that will actually delay that push for as long as possible, then boost it up immediately to keep him at full HP. Boger will also be slept mid in the Primal Rage. This is all turning up pretty well for Orgless and Hungry. 80% so far. Berglund taking a lot of damage from the Coalescence will eventually be converted on by Boger as that sleep wore off, so an opportunity for side effects to flip this, but it's not after we're seeing 90% plus, and Henningsen is fine. It is dancing between his minds. Uses it kind of as a slalom. He will eventually fall, but again, you talk about the percentage capture. It's 96% done for Orgless already.
Yeah, and this is last fight territory right now for side effects. If they lose one more fight, they lose the round, and Orgless and Hungry is coming back with a lot of good ultimates. They're going to have the EMP barrage combo, but they're actually just going to forego the barrage completely. I like this decision. Bring Kagasi in onto that Brigitte to have a lot of good sustain, and once you have that EMP, you can just roll through the point. Frost isn't going to be able to get that much done against this heavy ghost comp. As I say that, you know, the shield gets dropped, and he goes down.
You gotta hold your shield there. If you're Henningsen, you're coming through a tight corridor. You have to figure you're gonna get sniped at, but okay, thank you very much. We'll learn from that and recorrect our mistakes the next go around. It does come at the cost of Ruby's face, though, so now it just comes down to Leodes. He's in the back line, and he's got an EMP ready to go for the support line.
Yeah, and this EMP has to be huge here. They're all clustered up, so he can definitely get a big one right now. But again, they have to really be careful about Frost, and Frost now knows where he is. That's the big thing. A solo EMP on the cave here, they do get the kill.
Is it worth, though? Well, I guess we'll find out here in just a moment. Frost able to find another shot onto Ruby. Goodness gracious, that percentage starting to get to 60%. Kagasi also drops. There's no support here, Kenobi, and Frost is able to reposition very nicely, able to stay alive, and with Henningsen dropping away, we're looking at what will essentially be one more fight potentially.
Hey, spoiler alert, Shift. That EMP was not worth it. Not at all.
Good.
You solo EMP the Lucio, you get the kill, sure, but you're not getting any value out of the ultimate coming out from that. You really want to get the Zenyatta or something like that. So unfortunately for the side of Orgless and Hungry not getting the value they need, and Leo's going to switch over to the D.Va. And Frost again. He has Ruby has a magnet in his head for bullets.
Absolutely does. And now Frost has got himself freely perched up. The Coalescence finds 2 from Sab. This is looking like the reverse sweep is incoming, my man. It just comes down to if they can take care of the front line that's there. Leodes out of mech and taken down. Overtime is starting to fade away, and no one's going to touch, I don't think. Kagasi, will you get your last second? He will the sound barrier also for Tang. Or pardon me, that wasn't from Tang. That was from Cave coming out. This comes down to Henningsen. Can he sustain? It does not look to... And it looks like that will, in fact, be it. The reverse sweep will come all the way through. Side effects will win this one 3-2. Wow, that was not at all what I expected after those first 2 maps whatsoever, Kenobi. But props up to side effects. They stuck with it, and they cleaned it up at the end there. It looked really calm throughout all of that assault and that escort.
That was certainly a map that we saw from Side Effects at the end there, and from Orgless and Hungary as well. And it's so weird to me because at the first 2 maps, Orgless and Hungary looked like the better team. They were using their ultimates much better, much more coordinated, and then they just stopped. Like, we saw ultimate combos not being used correctly. Even in that last map, we saw Leodes solo EMP Lucio, where, okay, you get the kill on the Lucio, but the rest of the team is dead because you're fighting a 5v6 because you need the support from your Winston to dive onto Lucio and get the kill, because Leodes was very close to getting 1v1 by that Lucio. Like, a couple more shots from that Lucio and a couple more dinks, Leodes was going to die there.
Yeah, that would have been a feels bad man for 100% sure.
Especially since we had the camera on him. Like, that's the worst thing.
Right?